In this video, we're going to use Git for Windows to handle very large files that contain urban data. So let's start. Now, for Mac users, if you're using a Mac, you don't need to install Git. You can if you want, but you don't need to. You can use the built-in terminal that comes with macOS. macOS, remember, is built on top of the Unix operating system. So it comes with a command line terminal already. To open the terminal, just go to your Mac window, the Mac desktop. On the top right, click on the magnifying glass and then type terminal there, and you will see it listed as one of the choices. Run it. If you want, you could also install a separate terminal program. I personally like on a Mac the iTerm2 app. Is a free application that has lots of different options to run a much nicer looking and more functional terminal. But if you want to use the built-in terminal, that's fine too. All the commands that we're gonna see, which are just a few for the Git for Windows, can be run on the Mac as well. Okay, so having said that, let's try to use Git. The first thing they're going to do is we're going to download a very large data set. And to do that, we're actually going to go to a website that has city data. I'm going to pick the city of Pittsburgh. Could be any other city, but I know exactly how this one works, so I'm going to use this as an example. So I'm going to go to pittsburgh.pa.gov/innovation-performance-data-maps, or /data-maps. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and download, or go to the GIS, the Geographical Information System data download page. I'm going to go here. I'm going to download that data. I know where the data is, so I'm going to go directly to that one, and I believe it's right here. I'm going to go to the tutorials. You can read the tutorials. If you want to use open data, you can read the instructions. The one that I like is going directly to the dataset page here. So this one is located at data.wprdc.org/dataset. I'm going to accept the terms of use. And there's lots of data. The one that interests me is some 311 data, so data that has been reported by citizens. To keep it simple, I'm going to just look for data that is related to fire-related incidents in the city of Pittsburgh. I'll type fire there and then enter. And notice that here I have fire incidents in the city of Pittsburgh. I'm going to download this file, which is a CSV file. I'm going to download it here. And after it's downloaded, what we're going to do is we're going to open it and we're going to visualize it. I believe first we're going to use Excel, and then we're going to use Git to manipulate it. So here, once you get to this page, you can say, click on Fire Incidents and say Download. Click on Download. And this is going to be stored in my Downloads directory. So I'm going to hit Save here. And that's it. That's it. I have this data set. We could also download the whole data set for all the 311 events starting in, I believe, 2017. That is a 75 megabyte file with 500,000 lines. This is a much smaller one for what we want to do today. Okay, so let's see where our file is. I'm going to open it with Excel. Here's our file. It's a comma separated value file. It's a CSV file that Excel knows how to open. And if you notice here, I can scroll down and it has around, let's see, 7,400. It has 7,555 lines at the time of download. But I don't want to use Excel to do this. Excel is not the tool that we want to use now. We're going to use Git. So I'm going to close Excel. And I'm going to go here to my Git bash window. I'm going to type clear to just clear the screen. I'm already in the downloads folder. So if I type ls, notice that my data that I just downloaded with the 311, my file that I downloaded with the 311 data is already there. It's this 8D76 and so on. What I'm going to teach you some basic commands to visualize the top of the file, or the first few lines of the file. So I can use the command head, and then the name of the file. I'm just going to type 8D and then hit the tab key, and the git bash is going to autocomplete the file name for me. Since there's only one file that starts with AD, it automatically completes that for me. And if I say head and this file name and then enter, then it gives me, I believe, the first 10 lines or so. I can ask, or I can specify that I want only the first, let's see, we'll say -2 lines from head, from our file. Notice that indeed, when I said head -2, only the first 2 lines from this file are shown in the output. I can, if I want to look at the whole output, I can use a command called catalog, which is abbreviated as just cat. I say cat and then my file name, my very long file name, and it'll actually go and scroll and display on the screen all 7,555 lines. Let's say I want to count the number of lines that I have in my document. I'm going to say I use the command word count, or WC, and this is going to give me a few things in as output. So I'm going to say the word count and my file name. It gives me a few things. The first thing that it gives me is the number of lines in my file, which is indeed 7,555. Then it gives me, I believe, the number of words and other things that you can check in the documentation for WC. Right now, I really wanted to see the number of lines in the file. In the same way that I can do tail to show the first 2 or the first 10 lines in my file, I can use a command tail to show the bottom of my file. And these are the last 10 records. If I want to do a tail -2 of my file, I see just the last 2 lines or 2 entries of my file. Notice again that these are all entries are separated by commas. This is a CSV file or a comma separated value file. Okay, so we've learned how to look at the top of the file, the bottom of the file, how to look at the whole file. Now let's redirect the input. Let's say that I want to put in one file the first 500 lines, or let's say the first 5 lines. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna I'm gonna say head -5 and my file. And now I'm gonna use a command that in my bash shell, which is a Unix shell, allows me to redirect the output, not to the screen, but to a file. So I'm gonna redirect this to maybe 311 data, let's say first 5.csv. So now I'm extracting the first 5 lines from my file. I'm going to redirect it to a file that is gonna be created right now called 311-data-first-5.csv. So let's see if indeed that file was created, and it's right there. Notice this is what we just created. So let's look at how big it is. So notice that my original file, my 8076 and all that really long file name that came from the City of Pittsburgh data portal, is about 1.5 megabytes long. 1.5 megabytes, but the first 5 lines is only 860 bytes. So let's see what the contents of those first 5 lines is. So let's see cat 311, that one, and indeed notice that it has 5 lines. It's hard to tell. Let's do a word count of our 311 file, and indeed notice that the first field here, right here on the left, it says this file contains 5 lines. Why are we doing this? You're gonna need to learn little by little how to manipulate large data files that come from urban data sets in order to easily load them into different platforms. In our case, we're going to use these files, particularly very similar to the one that you downloaded, and we're going to put it into a geographical information system. But that is going to happen in a different video. For now, this is how this is the basic use for Git for Windows or terminal from Mac to carry out some basic operations on text files, in this case comma separated values text files.